Here's the truth. Most people who think they're prepared aren't. Not because they're careless, not because they're lazy, but because they've been trained or influenced by the wrong things. Yes, it's going to be up close and personal. And some people think, well, 21 feet, 7 yards, that's not close. Well, it is, because it doesn't take long to close that gap. Is there value in training that is on YouTube and all of these other platforms? Absolutely. But there is a lot of bad out there being done by people that don't know what the heck they are doing. Be very, very careful what you are taking as reality when you're watching it on TV or reality shows. Welcome to the Prepared and Proven podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Dubose Jr. Many people confuse exposure with preparation. They mistake familiarity for capability, and in the real world, that confusion has consequences. Today, we're talking about the reality gap. That space between what civilians are told readiness looks like and what actually holds up when things go wrong. There's no guest today, just the necessary conversation, because the gap between what people think readiness is and what it actually requires is getting people hurt. Let's start with the mistake at the center of almost every bad decision I see. So we all go to the range and we shoot paper, right? That's pretty much the barrier of entry with learning how to shoot. We go on the range and we shoot paper at a distance, at several different distances. It could be 5 feet, 10 feet, 30 feet, 10 yards, 5 yards, whatever the case is. Some people like to practice at 7 yards because they heard somewhere that a violent attack is going to be 21 feet and in. In some cases, that's true. And in most cases, if it's a violent attack, it's going to happen. It's going to happen fast. Okay. Yes, it's going to be up close and personal. And some people think, well, 21 feet, 7 yards, that's not close. Well, it is, because it doesn't take long to close that gap. It's usually between 2 to 3 seconds for an able-bodied person. At the most 5 seconds, it'll take someone to close a 21-foot gap. But shooting at paper does not prepare you for making the decision to actually pull your gun and shoot at a moving target, a human target that's moving at a fast rate of speed towards you. And that's if you have that much time. So shooting paper doesn't necessarily give you the decision-making criteria. And that's what I hear a lot of people think. They think they can go to the range. So we're dispelling some of the myth. You can't go to the range and prepare yourself. Now, what going to the range does, it absolutely gives you the opportunity to increase your fundamentals, to practice your trigger pull, to practice your grip. All these things need to be done, because if you don't know how to hold your gun and place your finger on the trigger without thinking about it, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, but you have to have those fundamentals, but it will not increase your ability to make the decision to do so in the moment. Unfortunately, there's nothing that can train you for that. Okay. There are trainings out there that can help you get to that point or get as close as you possibly can. There's training centers like MTAC in Muncie, Indiana, and you got a couple of ones down in North Carolina that's close to here that can actually train you. And I've been to a couple of them, and I can tell you that I came away with a wealth of knowledge. But it's only that type of training that you can do that's going to help you with your decision making. Now, the other thing that's going to help you with your decision making is having the right mentality. What's going on up here? What have you imagined a self-defense situation would be, right? Because most people that are law-abiding citizens and responsible gun owners, they're not looking to be on the offense. Right? They're not looking to go out hunting for someone or going out intentionally trying to hurt someone. So with that in mind, our mindset is already in a reactive state. We're reacting to the data that we receive in, right? So if we're reacting to a bad guy, we're already behind the curve because they've already made the decision to act. Now we have to make the decision to react. And shooting at paper on a target, on a range, will not give you that, no matter how fancy the range is. They could have moving targets that come towards you. It's still not a human being. It's still not going to move as fast, right? It can help. I'm not saying it won't help. But it's not going to tell you what your body will do in that moment, whether all the data being received is going to cause you to pass out. We've heard of people fainting. That's an overstimulant of data coming in and your brain just shuts down for a minute, or blacking out. You don't even have to faint. You can black out. I've had an instance where I blacked out. Okay. Back in 2007, I was in an altercation and I was shot and hospitalized for 27 days. But after that, I was at maybe about a year or two later, I think it was a year later, I was at an event and someone threatened to kill me. Right now, having been shot, now he didn't just threaten to kill me, he threatened to shoot me. And in that moment, I didn't black out, but everything else other than him ceased to exist. Meaning my brain focused so much on him, I didn't see everything else that was going on around me. And all I wanted to do was, you will never hurt me. So I didn't know my body was going to react that way. But in the moment, I couldn't control what my brain did based on the data I received. Having been shot before, I have another person telling me that they're going to shoot me if they see me in the street. My brain immediately shut down everything else and made him the target. You can't train for something like that. And going on a range and shooting at a piece of paper will not train you. You will not have any warning how your brain will react. You just have to do what you can to mitigate what you can do. And sometimes your imagination, imagining how you're going to handle a situation, can help you with those situations, right? So another thing, repetition. Repetition, just shooting bullets at the range is not going to help you to be able to, let's say I shot 1,000 rounds, right? That helped you hit a sitting static target. Even if you were on outdoor range and you were moving around and you were able, I'd see this with competition shooters, they shoot and I see them and they hit, Charlie, Bravo, Charlie, Bravo. And you would think, why can't they hit Alpha, which is, your primary target? Well, you're moving, your heart's pumping, your adrenaline's pumping, right? And this is, again, shooting at static targets. What if you now have to pull your gun, move, aim, fire, and you're moving, the target's moving? Repetition cannot teach you that, right? But it can help. It can help. Repetition does not equal readiness. So how do you get ready, right? Again, this is a lot of different things that has to happen, but there's the gap, right? So let's take it back to the gap. You got the gap, the reality. The reality is I have a target that's now trying to hurt me, or I have an assailant that's trying to hurt me, right? That's the reality, right? The gap between that and what we see in, let's just say, movies or internet or YouTube or anything else. We Google different defensive things. We don't see the extra take, right? We don't see the director. We don't see how long it took someone to hit all 6 targets in a row without fail. Bang, 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 bang. They hit all 6, but how many bullets did they shoot and how many shots did they take before actually doing that? And we think we see that, we practice that on the range, or we practice that in a range type situation, and then we're not able to do it in real life because we've never expected to do it in real life. We've never ventured down that road. So just having the repetition, I shot 1,000 rounds, I shot 2,000 rounds, I shot 3,000 rounds, that still does not mean you're ready. You might be kind of prepared, but you still may not be ready. There's a difference, right? So, and just being familiar with the tool you're going to use, I have guns in there right now that I'm very familiar with because most of them I built with these 2 hands, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm capable of doing everything with those guns that they're capable of. The gun is capable, absolutely. The gun in the right person's hands, or the weapon in the right person, it doesn't have to just be guns. It could be knives, it could be sticks, it could be bats, it could be karate, or it could be judo, Krav Maga, all these different things that can be used to defend yourself. If you don't know how to use them, they are useless. Just being familiar with it. I can read a book and get familiar with judo, but that doesn't mean I'm capable of going to do those maneuvers. It's the same with guns. If you know the gun, right? You could go get the gun, you could take it apart, you can learn every part, you know what spring does what and the tension and all of that, and you go to the range and you shoot it and it goes, the bullet goes somewhere you're not expecting, right? Just a few weeks, my partner Ace, he bought a new gun, right? He bought an FN. Right? It was a 22. He bought it to be able to teach his students. But I came into the range the next day after he bought it, and he's firing it. And he goes, man, this gun is horrible. I'm like, well, what do you mean the gun is horrible? And he goes, man, I've shot it. Alex have shot it. I want you to take 5 shots at this target. All 3 of us are very familiar with that gun. Right? We know exactly what it does. We know what the slide release is. We know everything about this gun, right? We shot the gun and none of us could hit the target. We were very familiar, but we weren't capable. Now, in this particular instance, we weren't capable because there was something that was with the gun that needed to be tweaked. And it came out of the box that way. But while we're capable, the gun was capable, we still couldn't hit the target. Even though we were familiar with the gun, we were familiar with the target and the range. So just being familiar with something. So yes, get familiar with it. Yes, take your weapon apart. Yes, learn everything, but you have to train and you have to be, because the gap between your familiarity and your capability is your training. So in the middle is your training. If you have familiarity, right? You're familiar with the gun, you're familiar with the weapon, and you think you're capable, you can't get to capable without the training in the middle. So let's train people. So, and we're going to talk more about this in a future episode, but don't be paying so much attention to what you see online, right? What you see in YouTube or YouTube University, or what you find on Google or Rumble or any of the other platforms out there that you can find training. Is there value in training that is on YouTube and all of these other platforms? Absolutely. I'm not discounting the training that is good out there, but there is a lot of bad out there. There's a lot of training out there being done by people that don't know what the heck they are doing, right? I know what I'm doing, but going on YouTube and doing training drills, not my lane, kind of. You may see, us out at the range in future episodes, but it's going to be, more of an informational thing more than really trying to train hardcore, right? But you have a lot of people out there that are doing all of these things. I mean, okay, here's an example. There's a gentleman out there, very good shooter. Okay. I'm not going to say his name, but some of you will know who I'm talking about. Very good shooter. He shoots wonderfully. Okay. I'm not saying this, but a lot of his content is built around trick shots, right? To the point of he's throwing bullets in the air, having his gun, catching the bullet in the chamber, locking the slide down and taking a shot at 20, 30, 40 yards and hitting the target, hitting the steel target. And that's great. That's entertainment, right? People, that is entertainment. Do not hurt yourself trying to do what this man has trained many years to do. Okay. You're going to go out there and hurt yourself. Now, you might survive. You might be able to do it okay. But that is entertainment, people. That gap between his being able to do that and your being able to do that is many, many years. Y'all are way out here. Y'all are not even close. And if you can do it, please believe I am not trying to insult you, but when are you going to have to do that in real life? When are you going to be in a shootout where you can bang, 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 you're empty, you've got no mag, but there's a bullet on the ground and you can pick it up, throw it in the air, catch it in the gun and lock the slide down and fire and hit the target right in the middle of the head? That's never going to happen. Ever. So we'll talk more about it in future episodes, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but be very, very careful what you are taking as reality when you're watching it on TV or reality shows. Right? It can be far between. Only thing you can trust is your training. All right. So, but let's move on from that. So, why does it fail? Why do these tactics fail under pressure? Right? Or why does your training fail under pressure? Let's take a quick pause because this really matters. Real life doesn't grade you on how clean your transition looked. It only cares about whether what you did actually worked. At the DJr Empowerment Academy, we train for outcomes, not likes, not applause, not highlight reels. If you're serious about pressure-tested skills, real feedback, and training that actually translates when it counts, private coaching is where that happens. Because when performance matters, results beat appearance every single time. Train for outcomes, not applause. Now back to the show. Why does your training fail under pressure? Well, first, let's understand that there are no retakes. You don't have the ability to pause. If you have a bad draw from your holster, and if you're not practicing drawing from your holster, there's mistake number one. All right. So let's take a step back. So let's talk about drawing from your holster. Right? You have to be able to get the gun out. And if you don't have a holster, you're dead wrong. I don't care how you carry. You must carry in a holster. If you don't, you are putting your life and other people's lives in danger. Oh, I'll just throw it in my backpack. No. Now, it's different if you have a backpack gun. Usually that's in a compartment by itself. I'm talking about handguns, pistols. Oh, I'll just throw it in the front of my pants. Well, without a holster, you are really taking a whole lot into consideration. I don't like appendix carry to begin with, but that's just me, right? That's another episode as well when we talk about gear and how to carry. But if you haven't practiced drawing from your holster and having the right grip, if you can't pick up your gun and grip your gun exactly how it should be gripped according to your hands and your abilities, you're wrong. Because like we just said, your training fails depending on your level of training, right? There's no retakes. There's no algorithm that's going to say, okay, we're going to move this around. There's nothing that you can do. There's no pause button. If a bad guy is coming to hurt you, or a bad girl is coming to hurt you, or a bad child is coming to hurt you, you need to be able to act. And unless you've trained, that gap has not been filled. So are you doing your dry fire drills? Are you picking up your gun 5 minutes a day? Oh, it only takes 5 minutes a day. It doesn't take, building that muscle memory takes next to no time. If you're the person on the other end right now going, well, Kenny, I don't have time. Well, get up 5 minutes earlier. Get bed 5 minutes later. When you're watching that TV, when commercials come on, pick your gun up. I drove Adrian crazy for months because I would pick the gun up, put it down, pick the gun up, put it down, pick the gun up. And I was practicing my grip. And then after I got good at that, it became pick the gun up, hold it. Now raise it to get on target, raise it to get on target, raise it to get on target. Those dry fire drills now enable me to be able to draw from my holster, get on target. And just think, if you think I'm being braggadocious or anything like that, 2 years ago, I'll tell you, 2 years ago, I went to that training in Muncie, Indiana at MTAC. And a guy was coming at me in a simulation. We were using specially modified guns. We were using non-lethal ammunition. So, before y'all trip, we weren't using real ammunition firing at people. But in most cases, this is probably the only way you're going to get the adrenaline pump when you're in a situation. But anyway, more about that later. But the guy was coming at me. I drew my weapon. And I got off the X like I was trained, pull your weapon, right? Be quick to pull your weapon. I got that part down. That was no problem. Get off the X. I moved from where I was so I wasn't a sitting target. Raise your gun, aim, slowly pull the trigger, fire, 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 fire. I fired 4 times and I missed all 4 times. So if you think I'm saying that I'm the best shot and I've got all of this down, absolutely not. I have bad habits I'm still working through, but I'm better than I was because I imagine myself having to act. I practice for what I may have to do. And I've been through a few things that kind of give me some insight, again, having been shot before. So where all of this breaks down is, again, you have no pause button. You have no retakes. You can't do this again. The only way you get another shot is you get it right the first time. Oh, how about this one? Getting it right the first time means avoiding the conflict to begin with. If you can get away. We got episodes on that coming up, so just stay tuned. How do you avoid conflict when conflict is coming towards you? There's ways you can do that, and we'll mitigate those ways. But for now, real readiness requires patience. It requires foundation before tactics. It requires judgment over tools, and it also requires accountability. You have to be accountable for the things you do, right? So let's talk about foundation. Foundations, we were just talking about it. What dry fire drills are you doing? I can't teach you how to tuck and roll and shoot from behind a barrier if you don't even know how to hold your gun. Which hand are you holding it with? Left hand, right hand? Are you shooting right barrier, left barrier? I first started shooting from behind barriers. I think maybe 1 year into my training. This was a while ago. I've been training for over 30 years, but I was hired for a job working GSA at the federal building, and they required us to shoot prone from left barrier, left-handed, right-handed, several things with revolvers. Guys, we were doing we didn't even have semi-automatic pistols then. We had revolvers that we had to reload 10 times because we had to shoot 50 rounds. So we're using speed loaders, and some of y'all don't even know what speed loaders are. Go to the internet and look it up. Look up what speed loaders are for revolvers, and you'll see the difficulty that I had, right? This is having never been trained with a revolver. But because I had trained how to shoot for almost a year, I had a little bit of idea on what to do, and I was able to mitigate that, right? But that training didn't come easy. The foundations had to be right. I had to know how to grip a gun. I had to know how to pull the trigger to the best of my ability. That came before the tactics of the left, right, prone, all of that. If I would have had to go take that test cold without any type of training, I would not have gotten that job. I would have been left out in the cold. So your foundations have to come before the tools. Now your judgment, the foundation has to come before your tactics. Now your judgment has to come before the tools, right? What are you doing with the tool? What tool are you going to use? If I go and I have to put a shelf together, am I going to use a hammer or am I going to use a screwdriver? What's my judgment? Am I going to say, you know what? That screw will go in a lot faster if I use the hammer. That's going to be a horrible shelf. I'm going to just let you know. That shelf's going to fall off as soon as you put something on it. I needed the screwdriver, right? But my judgment was skewed. Same thing with the weapon. If you have a home invasion and you live in an apartment, now I'm not saying that you cannot use anything. Well, you cannot use a tool that's going to get the job done, but you might be questioning whether you want to use an AR-15 or 5.56 to dispatch bad guys in an apartment where there's people on the other side of you. What is your judgment? Are you going to use the shotgun? Or are you going to use the AR-15? Or are you going to use the handgun? All that judgment has to happen before you grab one. All of those are tools. So you have to have that judgment. And when you make that judgment, you make that call, you have to be accountable for the call you made. The call you made, it may save your life, but did you put others in danger? And this is usually at the point where a lot of my students go, well, shoot, I didn't realize I had to be accountable for everyone. Yeah, you do. Let's just say you're out and about, you're out in the street and somebody tries to attack you. You have 3 different weapons on you. One of them is a gun. 2 of them, one is a gun, one is non-lethal way of defending yourself, and another is a knife. You have a crowd of people and you're being attacked. Which weapon do you use? Which do you choose? There's a group of kids that's behind the bad guy. Do you still pull your gun and start firing off at the bad guy? I hope not, because you're going to miss. It's a statistical fact. Not everyone hits with every bullet they shoot. Even police officers don't hit. Even combat veterans don't hit every time. They may hit quite often, but I'm sure they've missed a few too. Now you're putting kids in danger. Could you have A, run, B, defend yourself with the non-lethal way to defend yourself, or C, use the knife? I don't know. It all happens in the moment. Now we're back to the decision-making phase, right? And that training you didn't help you with the decision-making phase, but you have to be accountable for it all. So what's your primary path? Start with safety, all right? Know the safety rules. Know what you need to do. When it comes to guns, know the safety rules. Know that you have to treat every gun as if it's loaded. Know that you should not aim your gun at anything you're not willing to destroy. Know that you have to keep your finger off the trigger till you're ready to shoot. And when you're ready to shoot is subjective, but we'll talk more about that in future episodes. But for the most part, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. And then 4, always know your target and what is beyond your target. Because if they're close to you and you have to use your gun, 9 times out of 10, any type of ammunition you have, hollow point, monolithic, any of these things, frangible, which you shouldn't be carrying frangible, but anything that you carry could go through people. If they're close enough, the velocity is going to send that bullet straight through them before it has time to do what it's supposed to do and not exit the other side of a body. That means you're responsible for everything beyond your target. And that doesn't mean straight line beyond. It could be that way because bullets ricochet. They even ricochet off bone. You've got to be careful. You've got to be aware. Okay. So next, build your fundamentals, right? Know that you know when you pick up that weapon that you are ready. Right? If you have something with a thumb safety, make sure you're training that every time you pull that thing, that thumb hits that thumb safety and knocks it off. Because the last thing you want to do is pull your gun and have to use it and it goes click, 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 and you don't know why in the moment. And it takes you, even if it takes you a half a second to go, oh crap, the safety, boom, that's a half second more that person has to move towards you. And we already said 20 feet is 3 to 5 seconds. So what if they're already 2 seconds closer to you and you got to figure out why your gun's not firing? Now you're attacked. Now you're wrestling. Or at worst, now you're dead. I hope none of that happens. And lastly, train with people who think like you think, right? That are responsible gun owners, that are accountable, right? People that understand consequences. They understand the consequences of their actions, right? You can't hang around people or train with people that think there are no consequences. Because see, the reality, all right, back to the gap, reality and TV, they remove the consequences, right? Yeah, you might see a guy go to jail, but what are the consequences of them going to jail? What happens in between it? What are the consequences of them taking a life that they didn't mean to take? What are the consequences that family now has to live? What's the consequences that you now have to live mentally, knowing you took a life or knowing you took a life, period? It could be the bad guy. Trust me. Even dispatching a bad guy is going to mess with your brain. This is why police, when they in a shooting, they have to go to psychological evaluations. Somebody has to sign off that they're okay. And usually they're not. They know how to put up a front, right? It took me 3 years at a minimum to get over being shot. And I wasn't completely over. I'm still not completely over it, but I'm able to deal with it at this point. When your life changes in such a drastic manner, you'll be changed forever. If you're shot or have to shoot someone else, trust me. And I've been through a lot, and I know people have been through a lot, and I'm probably overstating for some people. Don't kill me in the comments, right? It will be the worst day of your life. It absolutely will be the worst day of your life when you have to take another life, or you could possibly lose yours. I laid on the ground in fear of dying and leaving my family behind, leaving my daughters behind, leaving my sons behind, leaving everyone I loved behind because I made a stupid decision and I did something I shouldn't have done. Sometimes you can't, you just have to live with those decisions. But if you hang around people that understand the consequences, they reinforce the consequences that you already understand, right? Birds of a feather truly flock together. If you hang around someone that feels like they have no consequences, you will become that person that, hey, I could do whatever I want. I'm good. I can go out and do whatever I want. I'm good. You're not. You're not. So you have to make sure that you're trained. You have to make sure that you practice making good decisions. You have to make sure that you're hanging around the right people, and you have to fill the gap, right? You have to fill that gap. The gap between reality and what you see as fantasy or whatever on YouTube. Realize that in that gap, there's different trainings. They're different mindset. Your mindset is going to be number one when it comes time to protecting yourself. If your mind is not ready, your mind may exit. Your mind may fail. Your mind may black out. And that's just the reality. So let's close this where it matters. Don't confuse exposure with preparation. Don't mistake confidence for competence. And don't let what looks good online replace what actually holds up in real life. Real readiness isn't built on shortcuts. It's built on foundations. It's built on judgment, and it's built on honest assessments. Awareness comes next, but awareness without correction is just information. And information alone won't protect you. This is the Prepared and Proven podcast. Train for outcomes, not applause. In the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and stay empowered. We'll see you next time.